Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode here on the Echelon Cycling Podcast, the only podcast with a Yorkshireman, an Englishman, and a Dane in it talking about cycling. But that aside, it's the Tour de France.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Sorry, I'm not going the Scottish thing. Sorry, that's not.
I
That's
thought you
not
were going to say French.
he wishes. This is such a weird start to the podcast. Anyway, this is our podcast
It
where
was self-inflicted.
this is the podcast where we start talk about what's happening in the week and take a look at what's happening ahead. And obviously, it's the Tour de France. We've just seen stage two. Wout van Aert just losing the victory to Victor Lafay, ending that drought, of course. But yeah, what have you guys thought of the Tour de France so far? And we'll get on to Wout van Aert. I mean, you can start with Wout van
Yeah,
Aert.
I've really enjoyed it. I think the Basque country has just been a fantastic place to start. I've really enjoyed the fans. It seems like everybody's got a Basque flag. Is it like a thing that you have to have one if you live in the area? I don't really know, but it's great actually. It's such a good place for the race to be. The stages have been exciting. It hasn't just been like a prologue and a sprint or whatever that we've had in previous Grand Departs and stuff. So I've been really liking it. And I'm actually just like, oh, what, can we not just stay in the Basque Country just a little bit more? Lots of puncher stages. Very interesting.
I agree. I think it's been two very unpredictable and exciting days of racing, neither of which could have been scripted beforehand, which has made for really interesting racing, to be honest. It leaves me in a place where I don't know where this Tour de France is going to go. And for that, I think it's very exciting because sometimes it feels like it can get quite either too boring or too predictable. And this year it's felt very open-ended. If you had Adam Yates and Victor Lafay down as your two first stage winners, you'd be lying.
I mean, yeah, two stages, and I feel like we've had more action than the first week of the Giro this year. Carapaz out, Mass out, Pogacar and Vingegaard already showing themselves on both stages. What more can we ask for in some respects? But I mean, we're going to start with comments because there's been a lot of comments, obviously, on this channel, which we really appreciate, and it's always more fun when we discuss with you guys, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean, Patrick, what's the first comment you want to bring to light here?
There was this one which was talking about, was it Yates hype is just hype? And then it just seemed kind of quite funny because I've seen a lot of people, right? Like, because obviously, like, I do like fantasy cycling stuff, and I had a team where I had Simon Yates and Adam Yates in there, and people said, "You're crazy for picking both Yates. What are you doing? That's an insane move." And yet here I am, mega mind. Although to be fair, I'm not because I actually took Simon Yates out for Hindley. But forget about that. It's funny because I feel like everybody really underestimated the Yateses, and they've really gone and they pretty much just made that first stage. It was really entertaining, and I think that was just such a good little story as well. Just like the two brothers, it was just such a really cool thing. What was it last time? There was like the Schlecks or something, which had done something like that. So that was a really cool thing. But yeah, that was kind of my comment of the week. It was just like a it's funny looking at things in retrospect.
Yeah, I remember someone commented that we were overestimating Adam Yates the other week after we said he might be able to make the podium after Pogacar and Vingegaard.
Yeah, how's that going? Quite well, actually. He's in yellow.
It's currently looking quite good. Simon Yates as well is looking really good. So, yeah, I mean, on that front, it's going pretty well.
Prediction of the tour so far has been you, and he predicted Victor Lafay to win on stage two.
Well
That,
done.
that is pretty good.
What are the odds on that?
We could have retired if he just put
I don't
10
know. I
euros
don't know
on
why
that.
I didn't. I don't know why I didn't go
Oh
full
no.
because I felt like it was a hard choice because I really like Victor Lafay. I wanted him to do well. He's a big time rider as well. I thought it was a good chance for him to do well, but I mean, yeah, that's a pretty cool win. He's gonna be wearing the green jersey tomorrow.
And that's not even like, he's wearing it on behalf of somebody. Like he's fully wearing it. He's got more green jersey points than Wout van Aert because today was classified as a flat stage. So there was 50 points on offer for winning, which is kind of also just like a tangent. Like Wout van Aert's got like 30 summit green jersey points. People were talking about there's a lead that he was going to get in the first 2 days over Phillips and Jakobsen, etc., etc. 30 summit points is not a massive lead. I know he has said that he's not going categorically for green, like all out like he was last year, but I just, I think the green jersey battle is alive, basically, which is good. It's not dead before we've even hit the sprint stages.
Well, he said he wanted to get stages, and 2 perfect Wout van Aert stages had been missed by Wout van Aert. Where else are we going to get these? He's not going to beat Jakobsen, Philipsen, Groenewegen in a sprint. So Limoges, maybe that stage on stage 8.
Oh, that's Binny Day.
It is Binny Day, but it's also a Wout kind of day. Beaujolais stage, Issoire, stage 10, running out of stages. Bourg-en-Bresse,
Champs-Élysées again.
Champs-Élysées, but I feel like Jakobsen, Phillips, one of these other guys, maybe even Welsford could probably be there as well. Welsford in particular, because he's in the saddle sprinting. So
we had some other comments as well. A lot of vocal people on the ranking one. I think partly my fault. Kind of, it seemed like we changed the structure. It's because we were trying to predict where the teams would be by the end of the tour, and that's why maybe some people were judging it by the lineup, whereas we're judging where we think they're going to be at the end of the tour. And obviously we'll do a video of that as well. But someone said how we put Movistar below Uno X, and I mean, now with Enric Mas crashing, granted Torsten Train also crashed, but they have more cards to play than Movistar.
That's true. Although, because, now you've got like Movistar and like the whole of EF as well, that's the whole kettle of fish, but all those riders are now just released for the breakaway, which is quite dangerous because Movistar does have quite a lot of good climbers like a Pedrera or a Jorgensen, etc., who will now have complete freedom rather than protecting Enric Mas all the time. But yeah, I know it's always kind of funny just looking at things a little bit like a few days after, and it's like, oh look, everything's completely changed as to what we thought was going to be happening. But yeah, our predictions, our ranking video was getting some heat.
But I mean, anyway, now we talked a bit about the teams last week, but the kits. Now we've seen the kits. And which ones do you like and which ones do you not like? And the green jersey is terrible, by the way.
I hate the green jersey. Putting that out there. I like the Astana one, actually. I think that is quite good. I don't think I dislike any of them. I think maybe Little Treks, I was expecting something a little bit different. It is a little bit jarring, like Skelmos. It's just like when the cross of the Danish flag is, there's just like this little right in the middle of it. I'm like, I can understand your placing, but I also don't really agree with it.
Yeah, the rider Alexander Kamp, former Trek rider, actually criticized that on Twitter, saying how disrespectful it was to the Danish. Because like the French one, they don't do anything on theirs. There's no...
that's just a Groupama thing.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I mean, the Fred Wright one is terrible. The British one, it looks like he's the Dutch champion, but I've said that so many times.
But then every British champion's jersey looks like it's just the pastiche of every other British champion's jersey. I agree. I thought Bora's special edition kit for stage 1 was nice. The full aquamarine number to celebrate their 10th Tour de France. I don't mind Bahrain. I think the white with the blue and the gold is a really interesting dynamic, particularly the gold accents. I think that's quite a nice addition. Add something else. It's gold is very in at the moment. Look at football kit design. It's making a comeback this year in particular. I really dislike the Lidl Trek jersey. I think it's more of a corporate quarrel I have here is that the jersey, the Lidl logo is kept in a square where they could have isolated the text and had the text spread across the chest, and it would have looked a hell of a lot nicer on the national champions jerseys, on the normal jersey, but they've had to keep it in the square jersey, which I think has just made everything look uncomfortable on the national champions kits. On the normal trade jersey, the shades of blue are different as well. You have numbers of shades of blue. I color picked it, and there are a number of different shades of blue, from the little logo to a different color blue stripe there to the main blue of the jersey and a blue stripe on the shorts. They're all different colors, which is really uncomfortable viewing for viewers. There's no way I would buy this jersey, and I think the most comical it looks is in that Danish one where you have the Dannebrog cross there, and in the middle of the cross where all the lines meet is just a little jersey. This is something someone would make on Pro Cycling Manager back in 2013. This is not a jersey that should be in the Pro Peloton in 2023. DSM Firmenich, I think, looks a bit homemade.
I didn't even realize it was a new jersey.
It's now navy blue instead of black, and They've also got these white circles in the middle. It just looks a bit uncomfortable. Jumbo Visma, I didn't like this jersey when it came out. We had our discussion with the Ride Your Dreams thing. Didn't like it then, don't like it now. I think the Israel Premier Tech one looks good, but I've been noticing over the past couple of days, it's very hard to pick out in the peloton.
I've found that too. Like, I'm not sure if it is just the new jerseys, but I just can't identify the Bahrain riders to save my life. I'm like, is that Mikel Landa? I don't know what it is.
Agree.
Like,
hard agree.
I'm like, yeah, that's Bilbao. But like, I was just like, is that Mohoric? Is that Nikias Arn? I'm like, who the hell is that? I'm not sure it's just me struggling to find it. But especially with like Bora's one, I agree. I really like this one. But then we only did it for one stage, and I'm like, it's just kind of a shame because I really like that. I thought they'd do it more. Like when Alpecin had that Mercier throwback one, they only wore it for like a couple of stages. I'm like, well,
I wanted that more as well, yeah.
It's like just wear it the whole time. It's like, come on, Bora, why are we going back? I know the regular kit's good, but I just like it.
Yeah, the regular kit was good, but they've had special edition Tour de France kits for the past couple of years since 2019. I thought they were going to keep that aquamarine number, but it was on the Tour de France website as that one. We actually got the early jumpstart on the fact that the Intermarché one was going to change as well, because they updated the website for that one as well. But the hope here is that Alpecin de Koenig soigneurs still sometimes wear the Mercier throwback kit. So maybe Boris Soigneurs will still be wearing the special aquamarine kit for the years to come on the side of the roads.
Anyways, we kind of started with this question that we did not last week, but the week before. And I mean, this is going to be a Tour de France theme. So get on your historian hats. And first question is going to be, before Nairo Quintana, who was the last non-European to win the polka dot jersey?
Before Nairo. I'm guessing like Australians, South Americans, North Americans.
Okay, I'll leave that one with you guys. We'll move on, and I mean, answer in the comments down below as well. But yeah, we'll stay on the Tour de France theme, I think, for a bit. And I mean, we've talked about this a bit. We've seen Cofidis breaking a record in terms of, well, not a record, but a drought in terms of not winning a stage was 15 years, but one that's even longer is having a French winner of the Tour de France. And I mean, guys, yeah, we are in the Tadej Pogacar, Jonas Vingegaard era, but when do you kind of think, if it's possible, that this is going to happen? We've got David Gaudu, Romain Bardet, Lenny Martinez coming up. Thibaut Pinot looked like he was the closest for a while in 2019. How do you see France's chances in the next couple of years, centuries, millennia?
I think Lenny is kind of the new hope, I think, because, you know, he is looking a very good rider, but the issue remains is that you have Pogacar and Vingegaard around, and you also have a user. And do I think that Lenny's going to be a user? Not at the moment. And their careers are going to coincide forever, pretty much. And there was a French rider who rides for the development team for Intermarché who won. Oh no, he was second up the Stelvio in the under 23 Giro. I can't remember his name, but that's maybe another name to throw in there. He did well on that one stage and then pretty much just kind of flopped the rest of the time. So I think this drought's going to last a long time. I reckon it could be more than 10 years before we see another one. But maybe Ewan, as a half Frenchman, token Frenchman, might have some insight.
So that rider he's called Alexis Fort-Prost. He's 19 years of age, which is the same age as Lenny Martinez. Take of that what you will, but I would say Martinez is probably the next best hope, but I don't see a chance. I think, as I described it the other week, it's like we're in a desert without water and we're trying to find that source of water, and you see that mirage, that sort of like fuzzy horizon ahead of us, and we keep thinking that, oh my God, the water's going to be there, It's not there. Maybe Lenny Martinez, but I just don't quite know. Yes, he's going to be competing against Ayuso, against Uitebrooks. These guys are getting top 10s in UCI World Tour stage races at the moment. Evenepoel's only 4 years older than Martinez. 4 years older than Martinez. That's not that much. Pogacar's only 5 years older than him. You think about the age difference between Evenepoel and Hindley, it's about 5 years as well. Like, I think it's hard to imagine a French champion of this Tour de France. I think the time was 2019. we have to swallow that very hard, difficult pill with Thibaut Pinot. He said in an interview with L'Equipe this week that the best he ever felt was on Prat d'Albis in 2019. That was one of the Pyrenean summit finishes where he dropped everybody else. The momentum was in his court and he was there really fighting for the win. I think the time has come and passed for a French winner. And I think we're going to have another 15 years without one.
I mean, 2014, there was a double podium of French riders, but that's where Contador and Froome crashed out.
And there was a 7-minute buffer between first.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So on paper, it looks amazing, but when you actually scrutinize it, it looks not so great.
2017, Romain Bardet was super close to Froome then in terms of timing, also in terms of actual competition. He just lost too much time in the time trials.
I mean, Ineos said that they wanted a French winner when they were going to try and win with a French rider, and they brought on Kenny Elissonde. So we were all like, "Oh, it's Kenny Elissonde," and then no, it wasn't.
Yeah, could you just
it could be Pavel Sivakov, but Sivakov I don't think is there anymore. He's missed his mark, and now he's moving to UAE next year.
Yeah, we will get the transfers and Ineos. Yeah. Do you think the only way that they're going to be winning is kind of if Pogacar and Vingegaard crash or something, but then you still have that, there's still like 4 riders below that as well?
I mean, does Pogacar have any French heritage? Could he swap nationalities?
French teacher?
His mother is a French teacher.
Does that count?
But Pogacar himself doesn't speak French.
That doesn't matter. Just put a French flag next to his name.
Well, he lives in France. Well, no, he lives in Monaco. Okay, I retract that statement.
Oh,
yeah. Sketchy ground. Whenever there's a French rider, there are lots of good French riders. It's just that there's always 1 or 2 riders who are better than them. That's just the unfortunate thing. They always coincide with one of these Galacticos riders. It's a Froome, it's an Evenepoel. Especially right now, it's even worse. Back in the 2010s, it was mainly just kind of Froome, Contador you had to contend with, and but now you got like 3 or 4 guys at least, and 1 or 2 might crash out, but that's not going to be enough for you to get lucky to win. You're gonna need like loads of them to crash, and that's probably just not going to happen.
David Gaudu won the Tour de l'Avenir. He was seen as like, oh, he's the next big thing. Warren Barguil won every single classification in the Tour de l'Avenir, and everyone was like, oh, this guy, he's it. And then his career's kind of fizzled out. I'm such a big Barguil fan. I wanted him to do so well, but not quite sure what happened after he moved to Arkea. It kind of went backwards.
He did it for the love of Breton cycling.
Yeah, I mean, it's so bleak. Like, just when you think about it, like you guys said as well, Ayuso so young as well.
De Brooks is coming through.
Yeah, exactly. It's non-stop.
Ayuso, Almeida, Pogacar at 24.
Yeah,
Evenepoel's 23.
There's probably some other cracked guy who's like 16 right now who we don't even know of.
Johannes Staunemittet.
Yeah, exactly. There's loads of them.
The other one, the Nordhagen.
Yeah.
So it's like
Nordhagen.
The French are screwed.
Always more likely to win a Tour de France before France.
That's going to be the
to be honest
from this.
Yeah, literally, they actually are. It's probably what UNOX are planning on doing. They're just going to kind of
more Jumbo.
Yeah,
true. Yeah. Jumbo we are everywhere.
Can I bring up some corporate news?
Oh, is this that Jumbo are going to be tanked now?
So Jumbo, as we know, Jumbo are moving away from the Jumbo Visma project. We spoke about this the other week, and that we now have potentially a new sponsor coming in. Richard Plugger and people at Jumbo Visma have been talking about how they've been finding new sponsors and so forth. And the one that's coming through with the strongest link at the moment is Neom City. That might mean nothing to most of you guys, but Neom City is an urban development program in Saudi Arabia. It is also, I believe, the sort of corporate name for The Line, which was
oh my god,
which was that big Neom City, is that what it's called?
I always thought that was just a meme.
So this is the corporate term for The Line, which is the big linear urban development project that's going to be a city within a big line through the Saudi Arabian desert, which is going to be linked up by one rapid transit system, one big long train.
That's pretty cool.
It's different. It's challenging, almost too challenging. It challenges indigenous communities in Saudi Arabia to the point where they're being forced to move out, which is bad.
Not so cool.
But the fact that Jumbo Visma have openly said, "Oh yeah, they're like the strongest partner we have right now," but they're going to bring in serious moolah, and also Visma, we believe, is sticking in with this project. Visma is Norwegian, hence why they have Nordhagen, Stanemetet, and so forth, and such long contracts. So, corporate news this week definitely benefiting Jumbo Visma, but another sports washing team from the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
great.
I don't quite think I like the prospect of that. I know it's good. It's great to have money in cycling and people caring about cycling, and it happens in football and everything else. But
Formula One,
yeah. But where do you go riding in this line? You're just literally just out and back.
Exactly.
Like, it's got to be the worst riding there's ever been.
The line is it feels like a stupid project. I thought it was just like a big clickbaity thing they were trying to do with like architects, but like it's real. And what if your one rapid transit line breaks? What if like you don't have a sense of freedom because you live inside this big long linear city that stretches through the desert? I think it would be quite sad.
Can you imagine the Jumbo, well, whatever, Visma, like advertising where they'll just be riding through this line? It's like, oh, look how great this is. Look at this artificial hill we've built inside.
100%. Like the New Jersey would have to be like a big line through the center.
Well, you won't be able to see it. They'll just be covered in glass like the line. You won't actually be able to see any of the Jumbo Visma riders. This is the new strat to win. You can't see Jonas Vingegaard attacking anymore. It's like an invisibility cloak. It's like he's stepped into Harry Potter or something.
It's so real. He blinds Pogacar with his little like reflective mirror suit that he adds on. The cars will now be like completely mirrored, and they'd have like a straight line as well.
Yeah.
23 episodes, and now we have Harry Potter mentioned as well. But yeah, nevertheless, speaking of super teams, and this is referring to our comment actually by you guys, quite interesting one with we've seen Ineos kind of linked with everyone leaving. We might as well move on to transfer news as well with this. But Theo Gegenhardt rumored to be going to Little Trek quite strongly now, and you'll go more into it. But like Carlos Rodriguez going away, they were all kind of, there's big stars leaving, Danny Martinez as well, but no one coming in. So the comment was that, does this mean that Ineos are kind of leaving the sport? Are they looking at a way out? They're not dominating anymore. They didn't get their publicity dollar, if you will. And are they feeling like UAE and Jumbo? We saw it with Oleg Tinkoff. He kind of went, see you, I'm not going to invest in the sport as long as Froome is there. So is that what they're doing? Or is it just maybe they'll come with 3-4 transfers after the tour?
I don't really know. I think that maybe you're right. I mean, either what's happening is Ineos is slowly phasing out, or they are continuing but with a reduced budget that we don't know of yet, and they are having to cut back right now. But the news hasn't hit headlines or the kind of mainstream media that Ineos are like, listen, not gonna lie, but we are getting our asses handed to us on a very consistent basis. And, Paycock winning Strade in a year is not enough for us with our massive budget. That's not satisfactory anymore. We need to be performing. Geraint isn't going to last forever. He's a pretty consistent podium finisher in a Grand Tour, but he's doing all he can. He can't carry the whole team himself. It wouldn't surprise me if they were phasing out of the sport. They've got the tentacles everywhere. They're in all sorts of sports. We saw that with Ineos's team release. The number of different sports that they're sponsoring. There's like football, there's F1, there's sailing, there's probably a million other things which they're thinking of probably investing in as well. Let's face it, doing crap in bike racing is probably not high on their priority list.
Is being crap at Formula One high on their priority list?
Oh!
Booyah.
They're going to get Verstappen, that's their plan. They're carrying all money.
Lewis Hamilton.
He's backed by Jumbo, the Dutch supermarket chain. So
true. Yeah. I
Or
mean, Lewis Hamilton is basically Ewan's neighbor, so uh, is he not
not
putting
anymore.
out is he not putting out his
Following public
grievance?
comments he made about it. Um,
Oh, true, yeah.
but nevertheless, I digress. There's like this conspiracy theory about like the Jim Ratcliffe Ineos kiss of death. We saw it with F1 with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell there with Mercedes. Football as well with Nice. Elsewhere here with cycling, similarly, which is why people wanted him to stay away from Manchester United. He's now just joined with the All Blacks, the New Zealand national rugby team. Who knows what's going to happen there? These aren't getting the results, but maybe Ineos's time at the top has ran out. They were the team to beat for a decade, from 2011 really until 2020, since the COVID break. They were the team to beat. That's a pretty good innings. You'd imagine Pogacar and Vingegaard probably have another 10, well, maybe not full 10 years, but they will have another 7 years in them. I think 10 years at the top of your sport is probably enough really to be content. But they've only got one Tour de France. They've got one day fully in the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. I wouldn't be content with that. They have to try to do something daring here. And we do have lots of rumors of the riders leaving. Carlos Rodriguez going to Movistar, we believe, on a long-term contract. Pavel Sivakov moving to UAE. We have Danny Martinez moving to Bora. That transfer has been strengthened over the past couple of days. Similarly, the only riders coming in, Carlos Brona and Tobias Foss. Can they save this squad? I doubt it. Even Ben Tullett wants to leave to Jumbo Visma.
And you even notice it, like even today when I was watching the tour, they just have this lack of presence in Ineos now. They used to just always be bullying the front of the peloton. And now they're just kind of like shuffled back. It's just like their time is slowly ceasing as a major power in the sport. Maybe their plan is just, listen, we're just going to go all in on like just supporting a few riders for just like, we're going to try to keep it very British branded. They're going to be like, we're going to focus in on Pidcock and Turner and like British talent. And, maybe they just decrease to like a mid-level team just over the next few years. And that's just the new norm. And it's just kind of slowly happens.
What do they call it in business? Product lifespan? Maybe they're reaching the point where, you know what, they need to either do something completely different or they're just going to fade into obscurity. And like we saw it with Astana 10 years ago, they were winning Grand Tours almost every year with Nibali, with Contador as well. They were podiuming Grand Tours with Superman Lopez, Mikel Landa, and so forth. And nowadays they have a sprinting train. It's so different, and had a couple of years of like meh results where you thought, well, like the Sasha Vlasov was there and we thought, okay, they're trying to do something, but it's not really working. 2022 was a nothing year with Superman Lopez and Nibali. Yeah, it was okay, but it was quite similar to Ineos now, where it's like they just seem like a sort of pastiche of themselves. They need to do something different. We saw last year in the Spring Classics campaign, they were doing something really different and to great result. Dylan van Baarle won Roubaix, they won Brabantse Pijl, they were up there in a number of big races. But in the long term, who's the face of this team? Is it going to be Pippo Ganna and Pidcock? Maybe Pippo Ganna's looking at moving back to UAE. Why would he stay in Ineos? Well, he's on a long contract, but like, for instance, in the long run, is there really a reason for riders to go there? It's not as enticing for young riders to move there anymore.
I reckon Ineos would be wise to just double down on the British thing. Try to get Fred Wright or something in there. Just get British talent that's kind of dotted around and just bring it all in and just kind of find that personality again. Well, personality. You know what I mean? They started off as a very
like their brand. Yeah, you're right. With
a very British brand.
That was kind of the mission. Yeah. Win the tour with a Brit.
Yeah,
they did that.
But now it's just kind of like, I don't feel like they have any British identity per se. When you consider that, heck, some of the most successful British riders, Simon Yates and Adam Yates. Adam Yates left them last year. Simon Yates hasn't ever ridden for them. But I feel like they're just missing out on even the very core thing of their British kind of brand. They don't even have that anymore, really. I think they need to reassess, because obviously they ain't winning Grand Tours, are they? That's just not going to happen. Like, if I'm a GC leader, I ain't going near them with a 10-foot pole. So who knows what Ineos are going to do. I'm very intrigued to see what happens in this transfer the next month, basically where transfers can kind of be announced when we hit August, because if Ineos aren't making some major signings, then I think we'll be expecting some sort of headline about cost cuts or something like that.
Well, some more corporate news this week. Pinarello, the bike brand that sponsor Ineos Grenadiers, it was quite a big deal when they jumped on board. They've actually been sold for a huge money deal to a private family offer. Maybe that new owner will pump in more money to Ineos Grenadiers, but maybe not. Maybe the inverse. Maybe they want to sever ties.
And that kind of happened with, well, it's not really the same because they're not owning Ineos, but like with BMC, when the owner died, then the family didn't want to continue the sponsorship, and then suddenly we lost one of the best teams we've had for a long time. So Jim Ratcliffe, if he doesn't want to do the cycling anymore, just wants to do something else. Okay, he's doing a lot of things, but yeah, if the results aren't there. But I will say the British front, I think that is a very good idea because we spoke about like the Danish riders right now are having like the best generation we've ever had. But I feel like the Brits, the Wiggins generation coming through, they're going to be terrifying in a few years' time. So it would be great to just accumulate all of them, like Oscar Onley, get him to Ineos.
But they're all developing through different pathways. They're developing through Europe or developing through other ways where not many riders are coming through Ineos Grenadiers. You look at the kids they're bringing on now. Yeah, there's a lot of British people, but you have Magnus Sheffield, you have Michael Leonard, you have, in the past, Pavel Sivakov. You have all these guys who aren't British who are moving through the squad. It's probably not as enticing for a young rider to go there. It's probably more enticing for a young rider to sign up with the Jumbo Visma development squad, which they have been doing, ride races like the Alpes Air Tour and the Baby Giro and so forth, try to find their way there and maybe develop to the World Tour team with Jumbo Visma, or move elsewhere like Ben Healy and these other guys are doing right now. Even Ben Tullett, who rose to the ranks, went to Alpecin de Koenig, went to Ineos, realized, I don't like Ineos, and now he's moving to Jumbo Visma, you know? I just don't think Ineos is quite as enticing for a young rider to go. I listened to a piece by Joe Dombrowski the other week, and he said, like, the reason I went to Team Sky, as it was known as at the time, was that they had so much expertise and they were the place to go. You know, for a young rider who wants to get success, why would you go to a team that's fizzling out?
That was so controversial as well, him signing for Sky, because everyone went, wait a minute. You said it was a British team, and now you're signing the American youngsters. Yeah, Ian Boswell went there as well. Patrick, we were at the Nationals.
Yeah.
I'm used to like Sky back in the day, just dominating the Nationals.
Ineos, yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 Ineos. But now they're like, were they even in top 5? I'm not even sure.
No, I think Connor Swift came 6. They were literally just got whooped by riders who were basically just riding individually, like Fred Wright, Sam Watson. To be fair, there were other Groupama riders in there, but they weren't like using their numbers to like numerical advantage. Stephen Williams was up there as well. James Knox. It's like Ineos, with all their might and power, couldn't win the national road race. It's like, come on. I think I've talked about this before, but I think maybe, maybe set up a development team. But just do. Every good World Tour team has got one now. And like Ewan was saying, they don't really develop talent. They kind of let them grow somewhere else and then bring them in. And that is absolutely correct. I do think that Ineos would be minded to have a development team, because then they can send their riders to the Alpes Air Tour or whatever, just these little smaller races, and develop their own crop of riders, because I think that Ineos is no longer the team with all the knowledge and all the marginal gains, because everyone is caught onto it now. Everyone's on a much more level playing field. It's not like Sky holds all the cards now. So I think that Ineos would be wise to set up a development team, not just because it would be good for them, but it would also be good for freaking like British scene as well, to be honest with you. Yeah, Ineos are just in the right state. Looking forward, I'm intrigued to see what happens.
Is Trinity like the unofficial one? Because it kind of was Wiggins, and Wiggins was kind of like the unofficial Sky development team.
To some extent,
No.
but riders from Trinity are now moving elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, Luke Lampert's moving to Soudal. Ben Healy, for instance,
we think
Okay, we think Ben Healy moved across to EF, extended with them as well. I don't think it's necessarily the place to go. Trinity's also an agency project as well, and a training project. It's quite innovative in its approach, where the Trinity, that the agency also has links with other teams. Maybe it's strengthening ties between British agents for British riders as well to move them across to Ineos. But their strategy in the past, maybe 5-6 years, at least since 2018, hasn't really been focusing on British talent. Rather, it's been focusing on sort of whoever's the hottest property, but they've kind of been sized out by Jumbo and UAE. And I think since the COVID break, the whole youth scene has completely changed.
So they sign Remco and then that's it, and they save their whole team. I mean, we spoke about that before.
But Remco was something from the pre-COVID period where, like, you kind of see his results coming through the ranks and so forth, and then boom, Soudal were quick enough to pick him up. But I think nowadays it's harder to sort of home and grow that talent. Lots of teams are picking kids up when they're 17, sending them to training camps when they're 16 years of age. Kian Uijtdebroeks went on training camps with like Quick Step and Bora when he was 16, 17. Kristen, for instance, we spoke about him the other week, the guy who's now been signed up for UAE. He's 18, 19 years of age. He was on the Poggy team. He's Swiss, and Pogacar picked him up as a talent when he was like 16 to ride for his youth squad. I think it's just a very different place now post-COVID.
Anyway, we won't talk too much more about Ineos Grenadiers, but nevertheless, a transfer, well, we think it's locked in. Fabio Jakobsen leaving to DSM. I mean, Ewan, what was the story on this one?
Well, we spoke about this the other week where we thought Bora Hansgrohe and DSM were in the fight. Bora Hansgrohe have sort of let down their armor. They released a statement saying that we're not pursuing Jakobsen anymore. This opened up the door for DSM, who said they were willing to put a big offer on the table for him, which now leaves DSM in pole position for Jakobsen. Jakobsen also has a renewal at Soudal on the table as well. Maybe he'll take that. Olaf Koy as well. We spoke about him the other week. He actually accepted a renewal at Jumbo Visma. Maybe Jakobsen does the same. But DSM are about to lose a sprinter in Sam Welsford, who's we believe is actually going to Bora instead. But Jakobsen to DSM looks to be a strong link for the moment for the current European champion.
Do you think that DSM's a good move? Because their lead out is okay, but we've seen it, with how riders leave Quick Step, especially sprinters, and their career doesn't go as well. I don't really want to see that with Jakobsen, to be honest with you. Would he re-sign for Quick Step? It really depends, doesn't it? Because I guess kind of basically what is Merlier doing? Has anybody seen him recently? I don't know what he's doing, but yeah, I guess especially with the renewal of Olaf Koy at Jumbo, that closed him off. But yeah, I'm not really sure if Jakobsen fits at DSM. I don't have that much faith in their lead out unless they also were to bring in somebody else with Jakobsen.
Jakobsen's the kind of guy who needs a lead out.
Yeah, he does.
Jakobsen's great when he's got a lead out, guaranteed top 3. But if he doesn't, you don't quite know where he's going to come. I don't think he's quite as self-sufficient as let me look down the start list. Dare I say Mark Cavendish. Biniam Girmay, for instance,
Yeah.
He needs to be sort of spoon-fed a lead out to do well. I don't quite know if DSM have that nowadays with their train. They're a really good mountain squad nowadays. They had that period of restructuring. I just don't think they have the engines. Also, to add to this, Dainese is rumored to Tudor, so if Dainese and Welsford are out of the equation, that leaves a big hole in their squad. Maybe they want to bring in the big bucks move for Jakobsen, and how can Jakobsen say no to a big money offer? Think about it that way.
Patrick, you were saying, what is Tim Merlier doing? Yes, but like the other thing is, what is Remco Evenepoel doing? If they're sending Remco to the Tour next year, they're not going to be all in for Jakobsen chasing stages, green jersey, whatever. They're going to be all in for Remco finishing third. Sorry, he's not going to beat Jonas Vingegaard or Pogacar, let's be honest. Yeah, and obviously he takes a big portion of the budget as well. We've always heard that they seem to be on like bonus, like strange contracts at Quickstep. I don't understand how he says he never has money, but they're like the most winning team nearly every year. Philippe Gilbert was on some strange contract where he was paid like peanuts, and then it was based on his objectives. So maybe DSM just are, as you said, Ewan, able just to throw a fat contract on the table with no like clauses of performance things.
Especially because they're losing Leeknessand. Dainese, Welsford, if we are to believe these rumours, those are three big stars of this year so far. You would suggest that could really open up something in their balance books.
I think it would make sense for the team structure as a whole. Would be how they've got Jakobsen in there, they've got Bardet, but they've also got the ability to give young riders the ability to have opportunities and leadership in big races. You know, they could designate a Giro for the Bardet, they could designate a squad to Jakobsen for the Tour, and then they can send an Onley, they can send a Tobias Lund Andersen, they can send a Max Poole to the Vuelta as a let's see how you're going to do in these sorts of races without that much risk. So I think it makes sense for them to do it. But yeah, I'm not overly certain on the ability of Degenkolb, Akoff, Edmondson to deliver a Jakobsen, considering that, I mean, we'll wait and see. Maybe I'm very, very much going to get proved wrong on this tour. Maybe Welsford picks up 3 stages and DSM are the new lead out bosses, but I'm not. I think you're right. Jakobsen does kind of need to get glided on a magic carpet and get landed 200 meters, 150 meters to go, launches, wins, just kind of like that. Is DSM going to be able to do that? I don't know. It looks like we're going to get a lot of just like sprinter roundabouts going around teams this year, which could be quite entertaining. It'll be an absolute nightmare next year to be like, oh, Groenewegen doesn't ride there anymore or whatever. I don't know. Be hard to keep track.
One that we haven't spoken about yet is Sam Bennett. With his Tour de France snub, he's rumoured to human-powered health next year.
Oh, no.
Demar's part of that roundabout as well. So, yeah, you guys are really right. There is a sprinter free-for-all in a way.
It's like every single sprinter, apart from a few, have been thrown up in the air, and teams are just grabbing what they can get, pretty much. Jakobsen's obviously the big fish, but I'm surprised Bennett's not being picked up by somebody, considering that he is a Grand Tour winner. Grand Tour stage winner.
But he's also in his early 30s, and he hasn't been getting great results without the help of Danny van Poppel.
Yeah, that is true.
Who has, by the way, extended with Bora, so he's not going with him.
I'm surprised that even like an Israel or somebody doesn't want a Bennett or something.
Speaking of which, Nizzolo is rumoured elsewhere as well. Let me remind you.
Of course, he'll end up on some
Q36.5. So riders willing to move down to Pro Continental.
Yeah, the in thing is a la mode.
I mean, Israel are Pro Continental, so it'd just be moving across.
True, but he was World Tour. World Tour sprinter, you know.
Yeah.
But like with Bennett willing to go down, Dainese willing to go down, and Nizzolo, I think it would be a step down because Israel get World Tour invites. Q36.5 don't get a lot of them. That would be quite a big deal. But maybe they're trying to help teams that they think have a really good shot at moving up. Tudor, who we want to sign, Dainese want to sign Trentin. They also probably want to sign a climber as well. Human Powered Health have a really well-rounded start list who've been getting good results with Sam Bennett as well. That'd be a good bolster for their lineup. And then Q36.5, who have huge sponsors. Look at the people who are backing them. These are sort of people who might have tax loopholes, you know, like these are huge corporations who are backing them. Surely they have money bags to help them out.
Finishing this segment with Fabio Jakobsen, what would you want Fabio Jakobsen to do? Stay at Quickstep or go to DSM?
Go to Bora, but it's too late. I will say stay at Soudal. I think it works really well.
I prefer him to stay at Soudal. To be honest, I know it's probably not what you're wanting, Scott. You're probably saying the different, but
yeah, this is quite boring because I think the same. So
I think you just should stay. Why? Why would you go? Why would you risk something that's working for something which
Kittel, Iberia, Mark Cavendish, Viviani, they all tanked after leaving.
Yeah.
But Kittel was at DSM. Well, Join Alpecin. But what would DSM Firmenech's future be?
Tobias Lund Andersen and Max Poole.
Surely Poole and Onley and so forth are moving elsewhere.
Yeah, Ineos will try and get him. That's what's going on.
But for next year's Grand Tours, Bardet with no Leknesund, no Dainese, no Welsford.
Yeah,
what do they go for?
They need to make some. They're like scrambling. They're like, we need people to actually get shit.
Relegation battle. Hello.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because, to be
Max
honest,
Paul. This is why Max Paul should have been sent to the tour. For God's sake.
but he could have gone to the Tour of Austria and probably got more points. In terms of the real relegation battle for the next 3 years, without real direction there, Bardet's not getting any younger. What is DSM's future going to be? Because they survived based on their 4th place, 5th place in the 2020 rankings. In the COVID season, they were incredible. They were right up there. They came 2nd and 3rd in the Grand Tour, won multiple Grand Tour stages.
Yeah.
Last year, underwhelming. Year before, underwhelming. For real, the next 3 years, they can't cruise on a good year. They have to be consistent. And to be honest, they're lacking. They're in the danger zone here with Arkea Samsic, who have been very good at playing the point system because they get sent to every French race and every Département of France. And Cofidis, who I think are probably the most likely to go down.
That's a bit of a depressing message on the day that they end their Tour de France drought.
No, okay. I like Cofidis. Cofidis played the point system well, but that's also because Cofidis, Arkea Samsic, benefit from the fact that they're invited to all these French races that happen in little départements, little communes that go around. They give out quite a lot of World Tour points. And you know what? They'll probably stay afloat for that reason, just like Arkea did last year by planting 3 sprinters inside the top 10 at l'Ouverture de Marseille. I just don't see DSM surviving if they don't sign a big name, they lose all these riders in the transfer market. I think it's very hard to see DSM being a World Tour team in 3 years' time.
I mean, we're going to come to not Ride of the Week first. Okay, we also have a question. This is probably an easy question, but out of the current crop of riders, who has worn the yellow jersey for the most time? It's not Tadej because that's not part of the question. He has worn the most time in the yellow, but who's worn it the most and not winning it?
Lulu, Julien Alaphilippe.
Yeah, it was too easy. With that, let's go to our predictions. And this was basically what Patrick wanted to do. Predictions of what's going to happen in week 2 before we get to the first rest day, and then we can laugh at ourselves. Who's going to be in the yellow? Who's going to be in the polka dot jersey? Who's going to be in green? And who's won stages?
I reckon Tadej will go, do I think? Oh, it's hard to say. I do think that Tadej will probably go into yellow. I'm just not sure which stage it'll be, whether it be Puy de Dôme. Do you reckon Yates still hangs on stage 5, stage 6?
Right, yeah,
I don't know. Like, he probably does. Like, he does have. One thing is, Tadej closed the gap today, though. Like, he got, like, what, 12 burner seconds today on Yates? I reckon Pogacar moves into yellow. Green, there are lots of flat sprint stages, so I'll probably go. Philipsen looks kind of keen, so I'll go with him. Polka dot probably will stay with Paulus, considering that EF have lost Carapaz. Still is, but they need to basically hold on to that with dear life. Stages, I reckon Philipsen will win a sprint. He just has to. Outside of that, I don't really know. I'm not sure who's going to win like stage 5 and stage 6. To be honest, it's kind of a breakaway, maybe not breakaway. I don't really know.
We've got 2 sprint stages: Bayonne, Nogaro. They'll be won by a Jakobsen Philipsen, I feel. Can't tell you which one's which for legal reasons. Stage 5. Okay, so I have a feeling the La Reims stage will be a banging stage. I think we could have someone on a sort of who's in a B-tier GC position right now, somewhere between 20 to 40th place, get in a breakaway, get the yellow jersey to alleviate pressure.
No,
surely not. I mean, Madouas could be in that position where he's not threat. Okay, yeah, he was 10th place retrospectively last year at the Tour de France, but he's not in that form this year. Someone like Genietz or someone, goes in the breakaway, gets up there. I was saying Tom Pidcock for a lot of the past couple of months, saying Tom Pidcock if he went in the breakaway in La Reims. He's quite high in the standings right now for Pidcock, so maybe he won't be allowed in the breakaway, but
it'd be like Hershey 2020 though.
That's the thing.
Where he was just like demon descending to try and hold off like Pogacar stuff. That'd be so cool. If anyone's gonna do it, Pidcock would be the guy.
I do think Pidcock could win in La Reims, but he can't sprint better than a Pogacar. The day after in Cotteret, I think it's going to be a boring stage. Stage after Bordeaux, Cavendish. could have a really good shot that day. It's a paint by numbers sprint day, the most simplistic sprint day of this year's Tour de France. Make of that what you will. I think Cavendish could have a really good shot that day. Day after in Limoges, Bini, Wout van Aert and Philipsen. Then Puy de Dôme, won by a GC rider, Pogacar and Vingegaard. And Pogacar in yellow at the end of the week.
I reckon Ciccone wins stage 6 because he said he's going for polka dots. So therefore, going over
Did he actually say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've seen that somewhere. And if that is the case, then he's going to have to be over the Tourmalet. And if that's the case, then he's going to be in the fight for the stage. So I'll go with Ciccone, who actually did look pretty good today. But it looks like he's been working for Skel most of these first 2 stages, who is likely a faster finisher. But I do think that Ciccone will do something in this week because he's probably not going to go. But he's not really good enough for GC. He is just a breakaway, just like artist. So I'll go Ciccone for stage 6.
I'm going to say Skillmotor inside top 10 by the rest day, and Bini wins on National Air Trail Day. I mean, I think the country would go crazy if that happened. But nevertheless, let's come to Rider of the Week. Obviously, not a lot of racing has been happening. Tour of Austria is currently happening, and the female Giro d'Italia, which is 2 of the most stupid races to put on during the Tour de France. Both of these races should have been leading up to the Tour. Ewan made the point as well. This is the first Austrian race we've had since COVID, and like, why would you put it during the Tour? I know it's been there historically, whatever, but just think it through, guys. Like, Tour, biggest cycling event on the calendar, let's not try and compete. But who's your rider of the week?
I will go with Adam Yates as my rider of the week. First Grand Tour stage win. It's not his first time wearing the yellow jersey, but it's kind of like the first proper time where he's sort of like, the other times he's got it, it's been because of like an Alaphilippe time penalty or Froome running up 1-2 or whatever. So I think Adam Yates is my rider of the week just because I feel like it's like finally happened, but he's like got that big win.
I'm going to go for Victor Lafay.
Who saw that coming?
I mean, yeah, but in terms of people who if you said a week ago Victor Lafay would have been following Pogacar, Vingegaard on the Côte de Piquet, then would have won a stage the day after. Nah. We'd be dreaming, you know? And for a guy from Cofidis who we did not rate that highly in our ranking video the other day, it's a huge achievement. And for him as well, just the fact that he came off the radar completely, it's really impressive. You know, we expected Pogacar, Vingegaard to be at this level. We expected Wout and maybe Adam Yates to be at this level where I don't think we saw Victor Lafay coming.
I'm kind of stuck now because both of you kind of took the riders that I was thinking of, but I'll go for Nilson Paulus because I think he's been our rider of the week before earlier in the year as well. So him getting the polka dot jersey. We're very limited this week, so just guys, go with us. Like, next week will be a bit more interesting, but if he's gonna win that polka dot jersey, first ever American, but is that gonna happen? Maybe. I just think after such a disastrous start for them, maybe they'll be happy that they've got Rider of the Week on the Echelon. Johnson Wachters is like, oh, guys, we lost Carapaz, but at least we got Rider of the Week. But anyways, that's basically it for our 23rd episode. Of course, we're available on all the different podcast platforms, and make sure to hit the like button. Comment down below as well. We enjoy all the comments as well. And of course, there's Tour de France things happening on various different channels. Patrick's channel, I'll Do Cycling, if you're following all the various different help me out, Patrick, what's it called, Velo Games and
Velo Games.
Are you going to do an update for everyone, your progress?
I generally do like a rest day,
okay, there we go then. And obviously we're doing a live commentary streams over on the second day, and then Patrick should make a cameo at some point as well. But yeah, with that, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, have a nice day.